I have a new studio. I've been asked time and time again to share more with what I do and how I live my life, because I have a pretty interesting life. I guess I do. But however, before I do that, I need to sort out this rumour that's going around that I have the best job in the world. I do. It's not very often that I get to actually just go driving just for the fun of it, actually, and not going to a place in my four-wheel drive to gather content for posting on my channel. Well, that's what I'm doing right now. Mates, 4 vehicles in the sand dunes near Lanston. And yes, the camera is running, but I'm not getting out and getting shots and getting angles and thinking about what to I'm just enjoying my truck, driving in the dunes, and we're making our way towards the coast now through the dune field, and we're going to end up on the beach and make a meal on the beach.
Here where people have had a bit of a play, and it doesn't look like anyone's made it to the top, so
very nice to drive, and really helped so much by the unit ship. This environment is where the unit ship just...
There it is.
But in this environment, that extra bit of power, man, it just delivers. Second gear, high range. The studio spoken of is actually my new place of residence. I have recently moved from our house in Woodvale, which was stopgap. Arriving in Australia, needed somewhere to stay for a year. It worked, a bit small, and now we've actually got a place where I can actually build a studio. And not only build a studio, but have a garage workshop big enough to fit the cruiser without worrying about scraping the roof. Just 2 days after moving in, though, I had to attend a local trade show. My first four-wheel drive trade expo in Australia, the Perth of Four-Wheel Drive and Adventure Show. And of course, this is the first time that the Troop Carrier is on public display. So let me take you for a tour around my new studio. I've been in here now for 2 weeks and it is working so well. Right, well, the most interesting thing noticeable, this wall hanging. Those of you that know my series on Zimbabwe that I shot in 2012, there's a lovely little sequence where I bought this. I like this one. Yeah. This is a bit special. The fabric is thick and the dye is heavy and the colour's intense. And up to this point, I've never had a place that I really wanted to show it off. And there it is. This is my working office. This is my editing. And this chair was delivered this morning. For too long. How's my back? Been oppressed by sitting on rubbish chairs. So, as part of my new studio, I have spent some money on a proper chair that hopefully will be kind to my back. I've got bolts left over. What could they be for? First impressions, very good indeed. But I do worry about it though. Every time I walk into my office, it looks like I'm walking into a dental surgery. I've got a lovely amount of natural light which I can control. So filming in here is going to be an absolute breeze. Behind my desk I have this working surface where it's perfect for rigging up, setting up cameras, fiddling and working and charging batteries, and it's so nice to be able to occasionally stand up and work. And I expect that some of you will be asking and looking and saying, well, what's he got on his shelves here? So I'm just going to go through what I love ships, and as many of you know that I actually build ships, I scratch build ships as a hobby. And they are not from kits, they are made mainly of brass and wood. And these are all the videos that I have made and published and sold. So in amongst that, all my four-wheel drive videos that I made, and I made my first DVD in about 2002, 2003. Preceding that, I had a lot of VHS tapes. And some of my memorabilia that I'm sure will interest some people. This was purchased in Zambia. I like the idea of supporting local communities as opposed to craft shops. I feel better about it, but it's also more authentic to purchase something from a place you visited as opposed to just a town. I just get more out of it personally. And now this will, to me, represent a major part of the Zambia expedition. And it's so handmade, and it has texture and imperfections which give it character. This is from my year. It's carved out of palm heart, my year in the Okavango, carved by a blind man. Some of my plastic kit modelling. Love of ships and love of four-wheel drives. And this tractor is a prized possession, actually. I had the joy of actually owning a Massey Ferguson 35 horsepower tractor when I lived in Natal for a short period. These you might be familiar with. Those are, that's an R5 and an AK-47 magazines collected in a place called Kasinga in Angola during my expedition to find the source of the Okavango River. Down this road, on an autumn day in 1978, the soldiers came. Nobody lives here now. This is Kasinga. The day after the soldiers came, 624 people lay dead, 611 civilian. These are genuine bits of a meteorite. Black, deep black, heavy stone. There's petrified mud. I've never seen a concentration of stone like this. Discovered in the Richtersveld in 2012. You know, you can imagine the amount of heat generated from the impact. It must have been incredible. I mean, the rocks are still warm. This I picked up in 1984. It is a piece of, well, it was once a piece of wood, and it has been fossilized. It is now a rock. That's pretty special, actually. From Namibia from 1984. Those are my two brothers. And something just I rather liked, picked up in the Kruger National Park in 2010. My books, these are the books that I have written and published. They start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Although those two were a duplicate, different. That was for the South African market with a Ford on the front, which was was awful vehicle, and for the UK market, the Land Rover Defender on the front. And other books, of course, Tom Shepherd's book, my own memoir, other four-wheel drive books. This was the very first four-wheel drive book that I ever read, Jack Jackson. That would have been in the early 80s. It still makes a good book, but interestingly, there's nothing in that book about tyre pressures. Not a word. So I had to learn that the hard way. Again, lots of Range Rover books and Land Rover books and Monty Python books. I don't build plastic models very often, but I do collect them, particularly really old Airfix. It's part of my childhood. I grew up building models with my brothers and my dad. And this is Mietwit. Mietwit is a teddy bear. I was given it when I was 4 years old, and my father brought it to me from his trip to Moscow. It is a genuine straw-filled Russian teddy bear. Mietwit is Russian for, you guessed it, teddy bear. The artwork on my wall, I particularly like Robert Taylor as an aviation artist. I have two of his works. They're both actually signed by the pilots that were flying in those aircraft, and the scenes depict an event during the Second World War. This is a bit of nostalgia. This was in my father's office for many, many years. Of course, he purchased it when we first arrived in Rhodesia in 1966. And I've managed to hold on to that. And this piece of art here is a fine art print of one of my own photographs that was printed for me by my good friend Jeremy James in Seattle last year. And we actually sold a few of those fine art prints at the Overland Expo West in Flagstaff last year. A little bit about my shipbuilding exercises. This is my latest creation. It is the RMS Windsor Castle, and in fact the ship that I sailed on when I was 14 years old. We bundled our Range Rover onto a mail ship. We came to South Africa to stay. And that model is actually finished. I just need to order the glass and make a glass case. In the house itself, I have some of my ships displayed. The Transvaal Castle, and a ship that will be familiar to many Australians, the Canberra. I have had many requests to do a video on the equipment that I used. I had a lot of compliments on my cinematography, on the canning stock route. I really appreciate the fact that you noticed. And I will be doing a video very soon on all of the equipment that I used, why I used it, what really worked well, and there were a few things that didn't work terribly well, and a few things that I learned from that shoot. If you would like to be part of what I do and help me make more videos, support me on Patreon. Click the Patreon button on the screen now.